You need to forgive your future self. What do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you a story. So, I graduated high school like 300,000 years ago, and I went to this school where they actually made you work during the summers, and you had to work pretty much all day, every day for like 2/3 of the summer, just to kind of help pay for your tuition. It's fine. Slave labor is something I support. We need to bring that back. I'm sorry, that was not true. Okay, so there was this one summer, I think it was sophomore year or something. I was working out in the middle of kind of a overgrown, weeded area in the back of this shed or whatever, and I was just, I don't know, I was lost in my own thoughts. I was cutting some grass, weed eating or something, and I was um thinking about my future. I was a sophomore. I was thinking about my future, and I looked over at the stream, and I'd never noticed the stream on the school's property before. The school's like in the middle of nowhere, like out in the countryside. I noticed the stream, and I noticed a rock, and it was in the stream, like a kind of little waterfall. I was like, oh, that's kind of pretty, right? It's like, that'd be kind of a nice place to go sometime. But I was like, in my head, I was so miserable at the time working. So I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come back here after graduation in 3 years, and I'm gonna go sit on that rock, and I'm gonna see how I am as a person. I'm gonna see what life is like. I made this mental image of that rock. I knew exactly where it was, and I told myself I'm not gonna visit it until I graduated high school. So years passed, and I forgot about the rock. And I graduated high school, COVID 2020, and I went off to do many various things and just do just random things, work random jobs, pursue random projects, and I ended up back in the area, and I went back, and I realized, wait, I actually never have gone to that rock before. So one evening I decided to go out to the old school and hike up to that rock. So I did that, and I hiked up to the rock, and I sat there. And I was like, okay, well, here I am. And I looked back several hundred yards, and I could almost picture my past self, many years ago, looking at me, the future self. And that's when I realized that this concept of us being the same person throughout our lives is so misguided. We are different people every second of the day. We are just a emanating pattern throughout the universe. The only thing we are is a pattern recognition. We are just a collection of cells that propagate throughout the universe, and a collection of specific energy waves that propagate throughout the universe. That's all we are. We're not the same person year after year, and that's okay. That's okay. But it got me thinking about, okay, well, here I am, and then how am I going to be 5 years from now, right? What I realized is that at the time there in high school, I had, and I mean, I still do, but I'll get to it. At the time there in high school, I really had a lot of incredibly lofty, outrageous goals. I wanted to invent something, like I wanted to be a famous inventor, or potentially a filmmaker, or just some potential, like, high, massive achievement. And so after high school, I went after those sorts of things. And regretfully to say, I didn't go after them potentially as hard as I had maybe wanted to. But I went after these things, and I failed. I failed at all of them. Or at least I failed at the ones I tried. I did all sorts of things. I flew planes, I flew helicopters, I tried to start businesses. I did this and that. I even tried dating someone. Like, who am I to think that I could do that? Anyway, so the point is, we're told to aim high. And indeed, this is a natural part of our being. But there's something I have to admit to you guys, and just to be honest, this is a video that I'm making for someone in their 20s, 30s, or 3000s, I don't give a, who is stuck in life and who wants to try to figure out a path, and they're going back and forth every week, and they're going back and forth every day, and they're in this cycle of like, what's the next step, what's the next step, what's the next step. I regret to inform you that this happened to me for 5 years after college. It's been 5 years since I've graduated, and I've had an incredible amount of experiences, and I've done many, many different jobs and got so much wisdom over the years. And I'm not saying I've necessarily wasted this time. I took big risks. And when they say take risks in the early part of your life, a risk is a risk, meaning you could fail. Guess what happened to me? I failed. Okay, that's okay. I knew what I knew what I was getting into, but I failed. I failed businesses. I failed careers. I failed so many different things because I was just trying things out. So when they say a risk, there is actually a risk. Okay. I just want you guys to understand that. Okay, so we're all Gen Z now. We're trying to figure out what to do. We've got videos and crazy amount of information that's flowing into our lives at any given moment, trying to attack us and bite us and eat us. And if you're the kind of person who is trying to understand what to do with their life, and you find yourself having this guilt every time you make a decision, what do I mean by this? Well, what I mean is you go into a position, a job, or a career path, a college degree, or just any of the thousands and trillions of career paths, and it seems like there's 100 million more things you could do nowadays, even though no one's hiring, but that's another point for another day, that you can do, more careers that you can do now. You know, sometimes we wish that we could just be back in the dark ages and we could just have like be a blacksmith or a glass blower or a freaking horse rider. Like, there's literally 5 things you could do back in the day. You know, you just did what your dad did, and it's like life is so much simpler. But now there's freedom to choose from 1,000 different career paths. And so we have a fear of commitment. We don't want to stick to something. We don't want to stick to 1 or 2 things, right? 1 or 2 or even 3 potentially. But we don't want to stick to a skill. And why? Is this a flaw of our generation? Is this a flaw of specific people like myself? Yes, it is. Okay, I'll just tell you. But is it more than that? And I would argue it is. It's not all your fault. See, here's the thing. I would actually say that there's a massive market off of telling young people what to do with their lives. I want you to think about the possibility that the stress and anxiety and fear and freaking guilt you feel saying, am I in the right path? What if I hate this when I grow up? What if what if this isn't my talent? What if this isn't my passion? Or what if any number of things, which we'll get into more later, this is actually more a product of a massive industry that profits off of telling young people what to do. Any single anxiety or guilt you have about your path in life, I want to know if it's coming from your heart, your inner kind of guidance, then that's something to listen to. But if it's coming from essentially marketing, then it's not worth listening to. And the thing is that it's really, really difficult to tell these two apart. So let's put an example here. Let's say that you're in university, and you want to pursue music. Yeah, you want to pursue music, but your university counselor comes to you and tells you, look, or actually, yeah, you want to drop out and you want to pursue music. Okay, your university counselor comes to you, you want to drop out, you want to pursue music and like work at, some dead-end job or something. Okay, while you pursue music, dead-end job, instead of going to college. But your university counselor comes to you and says, look, you're going to starve to death, you're going to end up under a bridge, you're going to be a loser, everyone's going to everyone's going to hate you, and you're going to literally essentially be burned at the stake. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but like, am I? So what they say is, okay, well, why don't you pick a degree that's like safe, and then maybe you can do some music on the side, right? And then they'll say like, and then you'll listen to them, and then you'll pick a degree that's safe, like becoming an engineer or something, and you'll get $200,000 in debt. And then you'll just kind of forget that music ever happened, and you'll wake up when you're 70 and just be like, whoa. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with becoming an engineer. There's nothing wrong with any of these things. More power to you. The important thing here is to feel like, okay, was it you that wanted to become the engineer, or was it the actually the system of colleges that was trying to market and essentially get your money. Okay, and now let's look at it from the other perspective. Now let's say someone else comes to you from freaking Juilliard Music School, or from, let's say you watch a YouTube video now about music, and this guy's telling you, you need to chase your dreams, you need to give it all, like, forget everything anyone's telling you, you chase your dreams and just freaking go at it, and sign with my record label and give me all your money. Okay, so now we've got a dilemma here, right? So like, we've got two experts telling us, as a 20-year-old, saying, if I go into music, then there's going to be all these, and do this and just fully go gung-ho into music, and like work with this record label on YouTube that's telling me, buy my course and leave your job, and leave your college, leave your job, buy my course and just do this. And it's shelling this kind of like follow your dreams mentality. Well, then I'm going to have all these voices in the back of my head saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Do something safe, do something safe, do something safe. And they're just going to eat away at me until I can't freaking move. Hence the indecision and the unemployment and the terrifying stagnation of this generation. Because think about it, it's not just one voice or two voices anymore, it's the entire freaking world yelling in opposite directions. And now let's take a look at the person who has decided to take that safe route and listen to that person and take that safe route. Well, now they're going to go online every day for the rest of their existence, and the rest of their college existence, and they're going to look at motivational videos. You got to follow your dreams. You got to follow your dreams, or you're going to regret it forever. And then they'll look at the music videos of these guys making music and says, listen, like, you're a waste of life, and you're a waste of time, and God himself is ashamed of you for not following your dreams and becoming a musician. And oh my God, so much pressure. Do you see what I'm saying here? These voices in your head that are actually trying to push you one way or the other, or up or down or left or right. You choose this, choose that, choose that. It's not your dreams that are talking. It's not your heart that's talking. It's actually the freaking marketing of these guys, and just the system that we've produced to sell people on, this is the path you should take. And it's producing all this anxiety. So there was another thought. Let me tie that together. So it's not that either path is wrong. Those are two kind of extremes, right? Those are just two extremes. Notice there's no marketing to say, well, why don't you, this is just a hypothetical, you do whatever you want. Why don't you love music? You just absolutely love music, but what else do you love? Well, I'd love to have a family. I'd love to support a family. I'd love to not be terribly, like, I don't want to be rich, but I'd like to not worry about money. And then if the music does work out, and I'd love to work really hard at music and have time to work hard at music, and if the music does work out, then I'd like to do that as a career. Okay, now you're having an honest conversation and saying, these are the things I value. I value music. I value financial freedom, like anyone else does. I value family. Okay, gurus and like the people who are selling you something, which is everyone, aren't going to be telling you this, right? And so they're going to be telling you, or I mean, the middle of the road option is not a popular option. It's not a popular thing to sell, like not a compromise, but a kind of, and we need to talk about the word compromise, all right? Because the word compromise in your career, like, I don't want to compromise my dreams to do this, or vice versa. This is something that actually sells really well. And let's just take a look. Like, why don't we look up all the artistic schools out there that are all about follow your dreams, right? Full Sail University, I think, and like Hollywood Film Academy and certain things. These cost like $100,000 a year, and they're for profit. Do you think people, like, anyway, we could go into that more, but to tie this all together, Um, no matter what decision you make in life, no matter how extreme or unextreme, there's going to be thousands of people telling you that you are wrong and that God will never forgive you for the grave sin you are committing by going down a specific path. Um, and this is the core issue that no one's talking about. Compromise isn't a swear word. So let's in this hypothetical example, let's say a potential for this person who really likes music but also doesn't want to freaking starve to death in this gosh darn economy. They could become a mass if they want to maybe be a little bit more risky. They could but still be like okay. They could probably go down the route of mastering music and work really hard at that and do that or something, right? Or just figure out like what are some boring like jobs that are related to music that I can go down. And it's like if you feel like you wanted to do that your whole life, that's fine. But then if you're like, well, who knows? Maybe in 10 years I'll want to do something else other than music. Maybe I'll want to do something else that's creative, or maybe I value my actual freedom and doing free. Like, do you value freedom or your creativity a little bit more? Which one? Have these honest conversations with yourself. No one is telling you these things in guidance. So I would actually just go to ChatGPT and be like, look, these are the things I value. What kind of jobs? Like, what kind of path in life? And then it might spit out something like, well, why don't you, looks like you have these certain strengths and you don't mind working with your hands, and you're creative. Why don't you become an electrician or something? Or like, why don't you become an electrician and work really hard, save some money, become an electrician, have that as a skilled trade, do a lot of music on the side, and then just see where it goes. Here's like what's the risk? Where's the risk in that, right? Electricians and stuff like that, you get an apprenticeship. You can get paid during the apprenticeship, obviously. You do music on the side, see if that goes anywhere. If it does, great. Now you have this skill in your pocket, like another tool that you just added to your tool bag. That's not a waste of time. You haven't wasted your life. Okay? As much as these guys are going to try to preach that, they're going to say, look, if you do anything other than your dream in your life, you're a failure. If you use your time for anything other than your dream in your life, you're a failure. Why? Because if you do that, then you can't buy from me. Dang it. So this is what I'm peeved about. Now, there is the main thing you have to think about, right, with regret and making sure you're following what your heart is telling you to do is just, it's mostly just thinking about, am I doing things because other people in society want me to do them, or am I doing them because that's true to me? And the thing is that you as a human being do not just have one thing that you care about. You care about your artistic impact, and you care about other things. You care about your family and your freedom and your financial well-being and all of these things, and what else? Who knows? Values, right? You care about values, but people have more than one value. And so these values aren't necessarily better or worse than each other. They're just different, and you need to get honest about ranking them for yourself. If you're absolutely freaking going to die if you don't make music your entire career, and it's like I don't care about having a life. I don't care about having any other like I just want to be artistic, or I just want to, I want to do this one thing. Sure, be risky, right? Be risky, take the risk, take the bet. Or I just want to be really, really freaking rich. You might end up really, really poor, like me. Like, I decided to try to make a company and do all these things, and I failed. I took a really big risk, and I gambled, and now I'm just as broke as I was 5 years ago. No money, no skills except for business, right? Which is fine. This is great. I have a lot of business skills now and business think, even though I failed at all of them. But this is the point that I'm trying to make. So this is where our fear of commitment comes from. Everyone says Gen Z has a terrible fear of commitment, and this is where it comes from. And the world is selling you indecisiveness. So you need to forgive yourself for making the wrong choice. What do I mean by this? You're going to have a future self that looks back on you. There's it's going to happen, right? Time is going to pass, whether you like it or not. We all know this. Your future self is going to look back on you, and everyone says, don't let your future self have regret when it looks back on you, and they're all well-meaning, and I love it, and it's great, it's fine. But here's the thing. I don't believe in regret. Okay? I don't believe in regret, and I've decided I'm not going to feel regret. Why? Because I know that no matter what I do, I'll make the wrong choice. I know that no matter what I do, I'm going to marry the wrong person. No matter where I move to, I'm going to move to the wrong location. I'm going to move, and I'm going to pick the wrong career or careers, and I'm going to mess everything up, and it's all going to be one beautiful shit show of a life.